There comes a moment in every journey when the world stops and stares, not because of the noise, but because of the silence that follows a powerful decision. A decision that doesn't just ripple through headlines or shake social media feeds, but one that stirs something deeper within us. It's not about fame, fortune, or secret societies. It's about the mirror that moment holds up to our own lives. What are we really chasing? Who are we becoming in the process? Sometimes the people we watch rise to unimaginable heights reveal something more than their success. They reveal the cost of that success, not just in dollars or time, but in identity, in peace, in soul. And when they walk a path that seems strange or unsettling, we're forced to pause and ask, what would I do if I had that kind of power, that kind of pressure, that kind of responsibility? This isn't about judgment, this is about reflection. Because in the shadow of every bold move lies a truth we must face within ourselves. And that truth, if we're brave enough to face it, can become the very fuel that propels us to a life of deeper meaning, purpose, and wholeness. There are seasons in life when power looks like the ultimate reward, when the spotlight, the recognition, the wealth, and the influence all seem like signs that you've made it. But beneath the surface of power, behind the scenes of every grand stage, there is always a quieter reality, one that few talk about, and even fewer are prepared for. Because power doesn't just change the world around you, it changes the world within you. And if you're not grounded, if you're not centered, that power can pull you further away from who you truly are. Now maybe you've been there in your own way. Maybe it wasn't a global platform or billions in the bank. But maybe it was that promotion, that new role, that leadership position, that relationship, that dream you finally caught up with. And for a moment, it felt like everything was aligning. People saw you, they listened, they admired. But then came the silence, then came the reflection, and you realized that with all this new energy flowing toward you, something inside had begun to shift. You see, the real awakening doesn't happen when the world claps for you. It happens in the quiet moments when you start to wonder why the clapping doesn't fill you the way you thought it would. That's where the battle begins. Not out there, not on the news, not in the boardroom, but right here inside your own soul. The battle between purpose and ego, between your calling and your comfort, between what's easy and what's true. And nobody is immune to that. No matter how brilliant, no matter how visionary, no matter how accomplished, we all come face to face with the question, what is the cost of this version of success? Because power, if left unchecked, starts to reshape you. It starts to whisper ideas that you didn't believe before. It begins to test the roots of your values. And sometimes, just sometimes, it wraps itself in symbols and systems that feel mystical, that feel untouchable, that feel larger than life. But what they really do is mirror the hunger inside us, the hunger to belong, to matter, to transcend our ordinary selves. And if we're not careful, we can mistake that hunger for truth. We can call it vision, when it's really just fear dressed up as destiny. But here's the beauty, because there is beauty always. The beauty is in the moment you wake up. The moment you realize that you've been building outward when your soul has been crying inward. The moment you recognize that everything you've been striving to master outside of you means nothing if you're a stranger to what lives inside of you. That's the moment real power begins. Not the kind that manipulates or dominates, but the kind that heals, the kind that creates, the kind that uplifts. And let's be clear, there is nothing wrong with influence. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be great, but your greatness must be anchored in integrity. Your success must be born out of alignment. Because if it's not, the very thing you were chasing becomes the thing that consumes you. And the world won't always tell you this. The world will often reward the illusion over the truth, but your soul knows. Your body knows. That fatigue you feel, that anxiety, that inner conflict, it's not weakness, it's a signal that you're being invited back home, back to yourself. Some people wake up because life shakes them, others wake up because the silence becomes too loud to ignore. But no matter how the awakening comes, it always comes with a choice. Will you keep climbing the ladder that leads away from yourself, or will you take the harder path, the path inward, the path of reflection, of healing, of returning to the truth of who you are? Because when you choose that path, you don't just free yourself, you free others. You become a living example that you can be powerful and pure, successful and soulful, ambitious and authentic. And that choice isn't made once, it's made every day, in the way you lead, in the way you love, in the way you speak to yourself, when no one's watching. That is where the battle is won, not in the boardroom, not in the headlines, but in the mirror. And the beautiful truth is, every single one of us is equipped to win that battle, not by becoming someone else, not by chasing secret knowledge or symbols, but by remembering who we were before the world told us what we had to be. That is your true power. That is your real awakening. And when you step into that truth, when you honor it, protect it, nurture it, you don't just change your life, you start to change the world around you without even trying, because you've already won the greatest battle there is. Sometimes life presents a moment so bold, so unexpected, that it stirs something deep inside you, not because of what was done, but because of what it represents. A choice is made on a public stage, but the real shift doesn't happen out there. It happens in here, in your spirit. It's not about the person, the fame, or the controversy. It's about what their decision exposes in you, about what you've been chasing, what you've been sacrificing, and whether the path you're on is truly yours, or just the one you were told to follow. Because behind every shiny curtain of success, there's always a deeper question waiting to be asked. And if you're quiet enough, still enough, honest enough, that question becomes impossible to ignore. You see, most of us are taught to pursue the dream, the car, the house, the promotion, the applause. We spend years, sometimes decades, trying to build a life that looks good on the outside, but nobody tells you that looking good is not the same as feeling whole. Nobody tells you that even when you achieve it all, if it wasn't built from the inside out, it won't be enough. And when someone, anyone, crosses a line that the world wasn't expecting, it forces us to pause. It forces us to ask, what am I really chasing? And more importantly, why? Because behind the veil of success is a truth many are afraid to face. The truth that you can have everything and still feel empty, that you can be praised by millions and still feel invisible to yourself, that you can hold power in your hands and still feel powerless in your heart. And when someone makes a move that defies logic or invites speculation, it pushes you to confront your own life in ways you've been avoiding. It becomes less about them and more about your own reflection in the mirror of their decision. What if what you've been chasing isn't actually what your soul needs? What if the approval, the image, the constant striving has only been a distraction from your true calling? What if the success you've been taught to want is keeping you from the peace you've been aching for? These are the questions that arise when the veil lifts, when the illusion fades, when you stop running and start listening. And those questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to awaken you, because you were never meant to live a life built on someone else's blueprint. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit into systems that do not serve your spirit. Beyond the veil is where truth lives, not the polished truth that looks good on Instagram, but the raw, messy, powerful truth that lives in your chest. It's where your real dreams are, not the dreams that win awards, but the ones that heal you, the ones that make you whole, the ones that are often buried beneath expectations, trauma, noise, and fear. And when someone pulls back that curtain, whether intentionally or not, it gives you permission to do the same in your own life, to stop pretending, to stop performing, to stop chasing things that are not feeding your soul. Now, this journey isn't easy. It's not a straight line. It's not glamorous, but it is sacred, because when you begin to question everything you once believed about success, about identity, about your purpose, you're not losing yourself. You're finally meeting yourself. And that encounter, that reunion with your own truth, is the beginning of real freedom. Not the kind that comes from external power, but the kind that can't be bought, faked, or taken from you. And here's what's even more powerful. When you go beyond the veil in your own life, you become a light for others. You show the people around you that it's okay to walk away from what doesn't feel right. You give them permission to ask deeper questions. You become a living, breathing example that chasing the world will never replace coming home to yourself. And that is what the world truly needs. Not more followers, not more performers, not more noise. The world needs people who are willing to do the inner work, who are willing to unlearn, to sit in discomfort, to peel back the layers and say, this is who I really am, and this is what I was really made for. So the next time you see someone make a bold, strange, or shocking decision, don't rush to judge. Don't rush to dismiss. Instead, use that moment as an invitation to check in with your own path, to ask yourself if you're still aligned with your truth, to see if the life you're building is really yours, or if it's just a reflection of someone else's expectations. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, is worth more than your peace, your purpose, and your authenticity. And the moment you begin to live from that place, you realize you've been enough all along. You don't need the symbols. You don't need the validation. You just need the courage to walk through the veil and into the truth that's been waiting for you all this time. Success is a beautiful thing when it's rooted in purpose, when it's born from a place of truth, from a calling that rises up from within and won't let you rest until you answer it. But somewhere along the way, in the noise of the world, in the rush to prove and perform, success can begin to wear a different face. It becomes a performance instead of a path, a symbol instead of a soul. And that's where the hidden cost begins to reveal itself, not in dollars, not in deals, but in the quiet spaces of your heart, where your truest self lives. We all want to rise, we all want to become, and there is nothing wrong with ambition. There is nothing wrong with dreaming big, reaching high, or pushing past limits. But when success becomes an identity instead of a journey, when the symbols start mattering more than the soul, we start to lose something sacred. We start to disconnect, not just from the people around us, but from ourselves, from our joy, from our peace, from the still small voice inside that's been guiding us long before anyone knew our name. Because the truth is, symbols are powerful. They carry meaning. They can open doors, inspire movements, spark wonder. But symbols can also deceive. They can distract.
They can convince us that we're becoming something more, when really, we're just becoming something else. And if we're not careful, we begin to chase the symbol of success more than the substance of fulfillment. We put on the mask, we play the part, we decorate our lives with gold and glitter, while our soul sits quietly in the corner, waiting to be remembered. Maybe you felt it, that quiet unease, that moment when you've achieved something big, and the applause fades but the emptiness stays. That moment when the title doesn't feel like enough, when the money doesn't silence the questions, when the spotlight feels more like a burden than a blessing. That is the cost. That is the moment you realize that rising to the top doesn't guarantee peace at the top. Because real peace isn't found in symbols, it's found in alignment, in knowing that who you are matches what you do, that what you've built hasn't buried who you were meant to be, and you don't have to be on a stage or own an empire to feel this. It can happen in any life, at any level, in any story. The mother who gives everything and forgets herself in the process. The entrepreneur who grinds so hard they lose sight of why they started. The artist who trades their passion for popularity. The student who chooses prestige over purpose. We all face these crossroads. We all come to that moment where the soul whispers, "Remember me." But here's the grace in it all. The soul never gives up on you. Even when you forget, even when you stray, even when you lose your way chasing symbols and signs, the soul is still there, patient, gentle, strong. It waits for you to return. And when you do, when you finally turn inward, when you ask the deeper questions, when you release the need to be everything to everyone, you begin to feel something real again. You begin to come alive in a way that no award, no contract, no applause ever could. And that doesn't mean you have to give it all up. It doesn't mean success is bad, or wrong, or hollow. It means success must be reclaimed, reimagined, regrounded in truth. You can still rise, you can still lead, you can still shine. But you do it from a place of wholeness, from a foundation that cannot be shaken by critics or praise, from a deep knowing that you are enough with or without the symbols, that your worth was never measured by numbers, or headlines, or logos. It was always measured by your love, your light, your presence, your purpose. And when you lead from that place, when you speak, create, give and live from the soul, the world feels it. People feel it. You become magnetic, not because of the symbols you wear, but because of the truth you embody. You become a force, not because of the stage you stand on, but because of the love you stand in. And that is where your greatest impact lies, not in reaching the top, but in rising without leaving your soul behind. So if you find yourself in that moment, where you've gained the world, but feel like something is missing, pause, breathe, listen. The soul is not angry, it's not bitter, it's not here to shame you, it's just calling you back, back to center, back to truth, back to the version of success that fills you, instead of empties you, that connects you, instead of isolates you, that honors the journey just as much as the destination. Because when your success is aligned with your soul, everything changes, not just what you achieve, but how you feel while achieving it, not just how high you rise, but how deeply you stay rooted. And that kind of success, that sacred, soulful, grounded success, is the kind that lasts, the kind that heals, the kind that truly transforms not just your life, but every life your light touches. So when you stand at the edge of achievement, pause and ask, did I bring my soul with me? Because true success isn't just about reaching the top, it's about who you become along the way. It's about living fully, loving deeply, and leading with truth. Let the symbols fall where they may, but hold tightly to what cannot be bought or broken. Your peace, your purpose, your presence. That is where your power lives. And when you rise from that place, not only do you transform your own life, but you become a light for others to find their way home too.